The cockroach is the creature that humanity hates the most and at the same time should respect. Imagine, cockroaches have existed for over 350 million years. When dinosaurs disappeared, cockroaches were already calmly continuing to live. Their heart is designed in such a way that it can work even with serious damage. Moreover, a cockroach can survive without a head for up to 7 days because it breathes through holes on the sides of its body. Did you know that cockroaches can withstand a dose of radiation 15 times greater than that which is lethal to humans? This is why scientists seriously believe that if a nuclear disaster happens, cockroaches will be among the few survivors. The French philosopher Voltaire once said, "It is not the strongest who survives but the one who knows how to adapt." And this is an accurate description of cockroaches. While humanity builds civilizations and destroys them, the cockroach remains a quiet symbol of survival, demanding nothing but crumbs and darkness. And here's the paradox: we despise cockroaches, poison them, destroy them by the thousands, but deep down we understand. If the end of the world comes, the cockroach will have a ticket to the future, but we will not. We're used to thinking of the cockroach as a dirty creature, but in fact, it is he who can give a person the key to immortality. Scientists have found unique peptides in the body of cockroaches, substances that destroy dangerous bacteria. Unlike antibiotics, it is impossible to develop resistance to them. Imagine, the cockroach does not just survive in unsanitary conditions, it makes it its element. And now pay attention. In the brain of the cockroach there is a special protein that protects it from viruses. Research shows that this protein can become the basis for new drugs against severe infections. So, ironically, it is the cockroach that we trample with a slipper that can one day save millions of lives. Another shocking fact? Cockroaches can slow down their metabolism to such an extent that they can survive up to a month without food and up to 2 weeks without water. Some species can even withstand complete freezing. And when scientists placed cockroaches in a vacuum, they survived longer than even the boldest predictions expected. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said, "What does not kill us makes us stronger." If there is a creature that lives by this principle every second, it is the cockroach. It is not killed by cold, heat, radiation, or our disgust. While civilizations were building pyramids, destroying empires, and launching rockets into space, the cockroach calmly continued to do its thing. Seneca once wrote, "He who knows how to adapt lives." And if he had seen a cockroach, he would have understood that this was a living illustration of his thought. While civilizations were building pyramids, destroying empires, and launching rockets into space, the cockroach calmly continued to do its thing. Seneca once wrote, "He who knows how to adapt lives." And if he had seen a cockroach, he would have understood that it was a living illustration of his thought. Fact 1: Collective intelligence. Cockroaches move chaotically only at first glance. Scientists have discovered that if you put cockroaches in a room with several shelters, they always come to one collective decision, and the entire colony gathers in one place. It is similar to a voting system, but without words and without a leader. Here's an interesting point: modern algorithms for controlling unmanned drones copy cockroaches. They move in such a way as to avoid collisions, and at the same time find optimal paths. Man spent centuries to invent traffic rules, and the cockroach does it instinctively. Fact 2: Memory outside the brain. Shocking truth: cockroaches are able to remember routes even when their nervous system is partially damaged. This means that memory is distributed throughout the body. To us, this sounds like science fiction, but engineers are already studying this phenomenon to create computers that retain data even if partially damaged. Albert Einstein said, "Nature never does more than is necessary." The cockroach is proof. Fact 3: The cockroach in culture. It seems strange, but the cockroach has become a symbol in literature. Franz Kafka in The Metamorphosis made it a metaphor for the loneliness of man in society. But even earlier in Arabic poetry, the cockroach was mentioned as an example of hidden power that will always find a loophole. And here's an interesting fact. In China, ancient doctors considered cockroaches little alchemists and used powder from their bodies to treat wounds. We are used to perceiving the cockroach as an enemy, but history shows that man has always lived side by side with it. Fact 4: A cockroach as an engineering prototype. In 2017, a group of American scientists created a robot that can crawl through cracks 3 millimeters thick. The cockroach was its model. It turns out that a cockroach can fold its body almost in half while maintaining its speed. Henry Ford once said, "If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse." But the cockroach showed, sometimes you need to look not at horses, but at the most inconspicuous creatures to create the future. Fact 5: Breathing without lungs. Here's an interesting point. A cockroach breathes through tiny holes all over its body, tracheas. This means that even if part of it is damaged, the rest of the body will continue to supply oxygen. Such a backup design is currently being studied by bioengineers to create new methods of lung ventilation in humans. The cockroach shows the system must be distributed, otherwise it is too fragile. Fact 6: A philosophical view. Nietzsche said, "What does not kill us makes us stronger." But the cockroach went further: it is almost impossible to kill it. It lives without food for weeks, without water for days, without a head also for days. But it is not about the myths about radiation, but in principle the cockroach will always find a way to adapt. This is living proof that strength is not in size but in flexibility. Fact 7: Cockroach and man. Few people know that the cockroach remembers smells perfectly. Its receptors are so sensitive that they can detect molecules at the level of billionths of a gram. And here is an interesting fact: Japanese engineers use cockroaches with implanted microchips to search for gas leaks and even for rescue operations after earthquakes. Scary and brilliant at the same time. Few people know, but cockroaches have the ability to navigate in space no worse than some birds. They use their antennae as sophisticated antennas that can detect even the smallest changes in air currents and surface vibrations. Scientists compare this to ancient radars. Leo Tolstoy once wrote, "Nature is smarter than all of us and its mechanisms are perfection which we are only trying to copy." And it was cockroaches that became an example for the creation of the first sensory robots in Japan. This is not widely advertised, but the fact remains. It seems that cockroaches are just chaos, but studies have shown that they have a strict social structure. They can consult, choosing where to run, what to eat, and where to hide. Their collective decisions are based on mathematics. The more individuals choose one path, the higher the probability that the rest will go the same way. It is similar to a primitive democratic process. No wonder Confucius said, "Even the weakest seek strength in the community." Cockroaches proved this long before people invented elections. Here's an interesting point. In archaeological finds from ancient Egypt, traces of cockroaches have been found near grain storage facilities. In fact, these insects have accompanied humanity throughout its entire development. Their presence indicated that there was food and people nearby. Even in manuscripts from the time of the Roman Empire, there are references to little shadows of the kitchen. Seneca wrote, "Everything perishable accompanies the immortal." Perhaps he didn't mean cockroaches, but the coincidence is symbolic. While empires were collapsing, cockroaches continued to live. Cockroaches carry a unique microbiome that can even break down poisons. Their intestines contain bacteria that are resistant to substances that are deadly to other animals. Modern scientists seriously consider them as a source of new antibiotics. Henry Ford once said, "Every creature in the world is an untapped technology," and cockroaches confirm this. Where a person sees dirt, nature stores solutions for future medical discoveries. Contrary to myth, cockroaches are not stupid at all. Experiments have shown that they are able to remember smells and associate them with food or danger. Moreover, their memory works longer than that of some birds and fish. In a New York laboratory, scientists even developed conditioned reflexes in cockroaches like Pavlov's dog. They were trained to respond to a vanilla scent signal to get sweet syrup. This proves that intelligence does not always depend on brain size. As Socrates said, "Wisdom is not in greatness but in the ability to use little." If a cockroach were the size of a human and ran at the same speed relative to its body, it would outrun a cheetah. Their paws move so synchronously that they literally slide over the surface. This is why it is so difficult to kill a cockroach with a slipper. It anticipates the blow by the vibrations of the air and manages to move in a split second. MIT engineers were inspired by this mechanism when creating rescue robots that can crawl into the rubble after earthquakes. In modern megacities, cockroaches have learned to adapt to technology. For example, over the past decades, they have changed their taste preferences. Entire generations of cockroaches have begun to refuse glucose. Why? Because most baits for killing them were